All right. Thanks so much again for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started. So again, thanks so much for jumping on to this Fix It Friday webinar. So the first part in a series we'll be doing once a month on Fridays, obviously, where we take a specific problem from our own customer base and provide a specific solution. So obviously we'll get into what we're covering today, but look for the future Fix It Fridays. We'll be reaching out, obviously, if you attended this one, to join the following series. So, thanks again. We appreciate your time. And let's say hello. So my name is Tim. I'm an account executive here at Balto. Been with the company for just about 3 years. When exploring helping customers and potential customers understand how real time could impact their business. So that's a little bit about me. I like to play golf. I have 3 kids. So thanks so much for jumping on. It's a little bit about me. So what will we cover today? First, we're going to take a quick poll right at the beginning. I don't know if anyone else has poll fatigue on LinkedIn, but this isn't LinkedIn. So we're going to do one more poll. We're going to talk about the problem, the specific problem that we're going to fix, the solution, and then we have a special guest appearance right at the end. So stay tuned for that. So first things first, let's get to the poll. So it should be going out right now. We're going to give just a minute to fill it out, but on average, how many times, would you say you have to recoach your reps on a specific tactic or approach before you notice that has been implemented, before there's some tangible change there? So go ahead and give that a read, fill that out, answer the poll. And just so you know, as we go out through today, if you have any questions, any thoughts, comments, follow-ups, please go ahead and throw those in the chat, throw it into the Q&A, and we'll make sure and answer that at the end if possible there. So appreciate that. Awesome. So we'll go ahead and just give a few more seconds, about 30 more seconds to fill that out and make sure we get that answered. So how many times? 1 and done, 2 to 3, 4 plus, and you're pulling your hair out before things get implemented and changed on the phones. Awesome. All right. So the poll has closed. Thanks so much for voting. And 67% say at least 2 to 3 times, followed by 33% at 4 plus times. So the overwhelming majority, at least 2 to 3, if not 4 or more. So that is a great segue into what we're going to talk about today. So let's go ahead and dive right into the problem. Plain and simple. Managers waste way too much time recoaching their agents, way too much time. So what does that mean practically? We actually surveyed. We wanted to hear directly from managers on boots on the ground, working with agents and reps on the phones every day, what some aspects around how they coach. And through that survey, 45% of managers say they use call recordings to coach and recoach their agents. Don't know if you're like me, listening to my team, listening to myself on call recordings is a complete drag. It's tough, painful at times. And so 45%, that's how they're doing it today. Managers also report that they coach agents at least 4 times before they actually implement a new skill. So that is really consistent with what we saw, 2 to 3 with some of our participants, 4 plus. So making sure it takes forever, 4 plus times on a single skill before they actually implement it. I know I was guilty of that in my cold calling days. One of the things that's just really tripped me up was the status quo. Hey, don't you wish this, this pain point, you could solve this pain? And the person said on the other line, no, I'm totally good. I must have been coached on that at least 6 times before I could implement the best response to overcome that. And then, managers spend 75% of their time re-coaching their agents. So between that and the call recordings, it's taking so much time. And so if that's the time we're spending trying to coach and get an effective, implementation of these new skills and tactics on our calls, there has to be a better way. And so, how do we do that? How do we accomplish that and actually get that implementation of the new facts and ingrain those new skills that the leadership team knows works to lead to the best call outcomes? And the answer that we're going to talk through today, the solution is real time. So real-time guidance and real-time coaching. So a few of the folks on the call might be familiar a little bit with Balto and some of the real-time. One of the new things that we're going to get into today is this aspect of real-time coaching, which we believe will be completely revolutionary with how we manage reps on the phones. So real-time guidance. So on the left-hand side, this is what agents would actually see as they're on their phone calls. So as they're interacting with potential customers, getting guidance absolutely in the moment to understand those best things to say. So having Balto jump up and say, hey, Tim, this is the best way to overcome that status quo objection. This is the best way to get past this. Here's some product knowledge that just came out that you might not be completely fluid in yet. Balto is going to be right there in real time to assist them. And I think as I was thinking through this today, we all, at least personally, realize, at least for me, that when we do that in those in the moment instances is where we learn the best. I know that there's been instances where people interject and redirect me in the moment. That is where actually, that transformation can happen. So real-time guidance. Now on the right-hand side, real-time coaching. So in the moment, let's say you're my manager and you absolutely want to be alerted to certain things that trip me up. So it could be in the example, you see a compliance alert by good old Kelly Kapowski. It could be a pricing concern, and I've just been botching that lately. My manager can get alerted to that in real time, can chat me in the real-time window saying, hey, Tim, make sure you focus on value. Don't just vomit out features and products. Make sure you go back to value that is going to solve their pain. And then my manager can actually see if I redirect in that moment. And you'll notice I can respond, hey, got it. Thanks so much, as we go from there. So the real-time guidance aspect and then real-time coaching. So what are the benefits here? Well, let's stop listening to call recordings. So let's stop at this older way of doing things after the fact that's not really scalable. As your team grows and your organization goes, so do all of your call recordings. How can you dig through and find the ones that are going to have the best coachable moments? Change the coaching culture. Give a full-scale scope of what agents are doing, from soft skills to those key moments to the exact things that are tripping up getting to the ideal call outcome. So no more the, hey, Tim, tap on the shoulder, let's review this call together, and then I'm going to set you straight. And this week, I want to hear you use these objections. And maybe I nail it for a couple days, and then guess what? Next week, I'm back to square one. So more time for selling, more time to be focused on the right things, less time listening to those coaching things that we can't even implement, more times on the phone, and then coaching in the moment is just more impactful. So those are those memorable moments, diving into that and making sure that we have that ready to go. All right. So if you have any questions from that standpoint as we're rushing through that, go ahead and put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A. So the problem, too much time spent on recoaching and it's not getting fixed. The answer, let's coach in real time. Let's address problems before it's too late. Let's save the calls as we can in real time and transform the organization as we do that. Okay. So now, as we are going to transition to our special guest, I want to go ahead and welcome to the call, and thanks so much for being generous with your time here, Dawn Sykes. So, I'll let Dawn tell us a little bit about her company, First Street, here, but she's the Senior Sales Development Manager and a Balto customer. So, Dawn, thanks so much for coming, and could you tell us a little bit about First Street so we understand where you're coming from?
Sure. So First Street is a direct marketer, and we basically really sell to seniors and their caregivers. So all of our products are designed to either help in their mobility or safety or just remaining as independent as possible. So we do a lot of work with seniors.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for that background there. And so what was the initial idea of searching for a solution like Balto, or what was the initial prompt that, kind of led you to the real-time aspect?
Well, I guess one of the big problems during the pandemic, we all went remote. So coaching really became very difficult. Real-time coaching was very difficult. It was, you weren't really able to do anything real time, that's for sure. But also, it's really hard to really stay connected and stay in a coaching mindset if you never see anybody. So the coaching really had gone down. Also, we ended up with 60 reps saying 60 different things, selling the same product, but in their own way. And sometimes it wasn't always accurate. And we needed to get that definitely back under control.
Yeah, the consistency I know was tough in that group dynamic where you're just learning almost by osmosis for new folks or folks that go through ruts, and hearing the person next to you has always been so effective. And for the maybe first time in history, that was somewhat stripped away, which was such a unique challenge. Had you considered or looked at other alternatives to impacting that? I know a lot of companies, embrace this remote environment early. Some were caught a little flat-footed of, how do I adjust this? How do I maintain culture and training and results and coaching in the midst of this? I don't know if you tried anything before, really looking for some type of software, if you guys enhanced it, added more training sessions, or if there's anything that you tried.
They really, our sales leaders really didn't implement anything. They tried to do virtual meetings, sales meetings, getting their teams together on Zoom. It just didn't seem to be very effective.
Yeah, maybe some of that Zoom fatigue, especially if you're on Zoom calls all day and then
Right,
jumping on a Zoom training. Oh my
right.
goodness. It can be tough. So how would you say, you and your team use Balto today? What have been some of the maybe quick wins or some of the things you've seen early on?
Well, there's a couple of different things. One thing that I think is most important is we've gotten everybody back on script. We are asking the right probing questions. We're talking about benefits. We're really getting everybody on board with saying things the right way, the way we need them to. The second thing that has really been a big difference is the coaching is completely different now. Not only is it regular again, so we're actually doing more of it, but it's much more beneficial because we're actually able to take the metrics that Balto gives us, and for either the team or individual reps, we can actually see what is the issue, what are they doing great, and where are they struggling, and we can look, for just one call as an example, or we can say, okay, let's look at their whole last week. Their sales have gone down a little bit. Let's take a look at what they're saying, what they're not saying, and where we're missing it, and they can coach accurately.
Yeah, absolutely. And how is that being done previously? Were you falling in? Was you and the team falling into the call recording camp? Did you
Yeah.
have other analysis? What were some of the things you were doing previously, to understand where and how to coach?
Well, it really was call recording. We would listen to calls, and one of the shortfalls of that is you can't listen to all the calls. So they may have not done one call very well, but they could have done the next call great. But you don't really get the overview of how they're doing on all their calls. And so it's really a matter of which call did you pick to listen to, and that's very hard to coach to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, I know I hear this from other customers and just, potential prospects as well, is it can be somewhat subjective. Maybe you catch the person on a bad day and you
Right.
randomly pick two calls. You're like, oh my gosh, Tim is just all over the place here. And did he show empathy? Kind of. Did he ask the discovery part of the call that we wanted him to? Sort of. And it can be, a judgment call and can be tough. And again, only a small aspect of potentially the body of work that might have happened in that. So
Right.
was there anything that you've noticed, or that the sales managers here, as I kind of put you on the spot, that was, uniquely interesting that they're now able to see and measure with Balto that goes back into the coaching that you weren't before? We hit on that, but anything specifically that has been like, oh my gosh, this was something we didn't anticipate, but it's made a big difference?
One thing that I found very interesting, the metric where we're able to look at their talk time. We can tell who's talking the most on the call, and we can actually alert the agent that they are talking too much. So it was interesting to see which agents really just talked almost the entire call, which isn't very effective when we're trying to really get information from the customer and really try to discover what it is that we can solve for them. We need them to talk to us, and the more they talk, the better. So it was really interesting to see which agents just really did the most talking and really it was one of those situations they weren't really connecting with the customer. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, gosh, early in the career, and maybe still sometimes I'm guilty of that, where you just start, those of us in sales or those who, communicate, I guess, so much for a living, that's your default is you just start talking. And obviously, I think as a lot of sales leaders will say, active listening is one of the most crucial skills that has to be expanded with newer and junior reps. So that makes a lot of sense. And I know within Balto, so, those of you who have seen a demo or have experienced it before, but there's a multitude of ways you can actually impact that type of skill. And there's a notification section where there's the red sliders that come up that used to say, hey, you're talking too much. And we found that reps kind of panic. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm talking too much. What do I do now? I don't want to talk too much. And we actually transitioned it to a prompt, which is a dynamic prompt that comes up automatically that based on the cadence and how your that interchange is going, it says talking too much, but then provides great transitional questions to flip it back, to get the customer talking, to understand you're tailoring the conversation to everything that they want to cover. So no, that's a great point, and one that has been pretty impactful. So in terms of some of the results, right? I think at the end of the day, most of us are really focused on what's the bottom line, where the results come in. What are some of the results you guys have seen over at First Street?
Well, one thing that we have seen as a result of this is our customer service issues are down. And that's really important. And a lot of that is due to the fact that we now have our agents consistent in their messaging. And I think before that was a big problem. So that is definitely something that's happened. The other thing is we're up about 3% in the close rate.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so it's really neat. And when we first rolled it out, we did a really cool A/B test, and so we rolled it out to half of our team, and the other half didn't have it. And we ran a test for a couple of weeks to see what kind of differences we could find. And the team with Balto had a 3% higher close rate, and we could see actual improvement on each individual rep for their individual close rates than the team that did not have Balto. So that was really what I thought was exciting for us. And the other thing, probably the third thing, which I think is really exciting, is we can find out what part of our scripts work and don't work. So if something is getting used a lot and it's not leading to wins or sales, then we know that that is not going to work. We need to fix it, reword it, replace it, whatever we need to do, but we're able through the metrics to see what's effective.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that. And I'm really glad to hear that. I know the A/B concept hasn't been embraced historically in sales organizations, marketing, yes, in a lot of other different situations, but A/B testing different talk tracks and different word flows can be huge. So if you want to learn more, if you're on the call and any of the aspects of what we talked about are intriguing, obviously there's so much here. There's so much that goes into real-time coaching and obviously the real-time guidance for the agents. But if you want to solve that issue and you want to make sure and have folks that are following the things that you think work without sounding robotic, focused on the conversation and then getting that visibility to understand what's broken, what's working, let's execute that at scale. Go ahead and book a quick, obviously quick demo here. You can book it with me, quick intro, tell you a little bit more about Balto, understand some of the things you're focused on right now. We can go from there. If you have questions for Dawn specifically about her business or even about how they used or deployed Balto, feel free, her email. She's been generous to give us her email as well. So I really appreciate everyone. We're going to make this quick and sweet, a quick 20 minutes. And so I know everyone's schedules are packed. So thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate that. One quick thing in the chat, we have the links there to, if you want to book a demo, easy. If you want to email Dawn, right there as well. But really appreciate everyone's time. And again, feel free to email me, chat me on LinkedIn, connect. But appreciate everyone. Have a good rest of your Friday and a great weekend. We'll see you next time on Fix It Friday. Appreciate it.